Carole Robinson. Welcome to this edition of County Happenings, where we find out what's going on in Williamson County by talking to the Williamson County Mayor, Rogers Anderson. How you doing, Rogers?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for doing this show again. Try to catch up on what's happening since the holiday season.
I know. I feel like it's been a year's gone by.
Another year's gone by, and hope everyone that's watching this show had a good holiday season, Christmas, and spend time with the family, and safe travels, and come back. I know you did a little traveling during the holiday season.
Yeah, well, it wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We took a venture down to Florida. A good friend of my husband's passed away. They'd been friends since they were in 4th grade. And
It seems I spend more time going over to Pam Stevens'
Williamson Memorial.
Memorial more than I like anymore, but I guess that's just the age I'm getting to.
Well, at least you're going there, not being there.
What's the saying that Pam's late husband, Daddy used to say, "You're viewing people, not being viewed."
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference. But
Lots going on in county as usual.
things are back to work, and things are starting. The ball's rolling again, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is, and I think it would be appropriate at this time because I know you know it, and probably 99% of the people. We wish Jeff Long, Sheriff Jeff Long, a wonderful journey to Nashville, Tennessee. He's still going to live in the county, but he's taken over a whole new role. They're going to be calling him the commissioner.
Mr. Commissioner, the commish.
I think of the commissioner. If you've got gray hair and I guess you're over 50, you would know who the commish is, the old television show. And if you're 50 and under, you don't have a clue what we're talking about. But
Look it up.
There was a TV show for many years, the commish, and he always chewed on a lollipop.
Yep.
I don't know if many people remember that, but Jeff Long will do an outstanding job for the new governor, who happens to be from the
great county of Williamson.
Williamson County. We're proud of him just as well as we are Jeff. We know Jeff much better.
Yeah.
We've worked with him for 10 years. He's got a wonderful sheriff's department. He's well respected and liked all over our county, but even outside our county limits. And he took over that role here recently. And so his duties now go from not just being sheriff, but being in charge of Tennessee Highway Patrol, all law enforcement, Homeland Security, where you get your driver's license, the testing center, you name it.
He's the one to go to.
He's the one to go to. And it almost is like it was a Hollywood movie script written for him that, he started off in local law enforcement as a volunteer.
Yep, up to the deputy, and then
TBI, drugs. He just got a wealth of knowledge. Not that he'd used drugs. I mean, he was drug task force. And
then he went into he got his law degree.
He's a very solid citizen, but he's also a good friend to so many people. It was our loss, but it is a gain for the state of Tennessee. So hats off to him and his family, and and look out in Nashville, Tennessee, and from Mountain Home to Memphis. Jeff Long's on the road, and he'll do a great job.
Yeah, he's going to put a lot of miles on his new car.
And the county commission in January, under the law, when the sheriff resigns, then the position is fulfilled by the chief deputy, and that was Dusty Rhodes. So Dusty will serve as the acting sheriff until February, in which the county commission will make an appointment. And there's Dusty Rhodes, the acting sheriff at this point, and there is one individual by the name of Alfred Nations, Al Nations Jr., that has put his name in. He's currently works in the sheriff's department. And the way that process works, the reason he wasn't appointed immediately, under the sheriff's criteria, they have to be post-certified. And so once the sheriff resigns, then we advertise by law in the paper of local circulation that there's an opening. And if anyone is interested in becoming the sheriff, then they'll submit their name and the proper paperwork to the county commission, and we are, unless some hiccup comes along, we're planning on that being on the February county commission meeting, which will be the second Monday in February. And at that time, the commission, out of the 24 men and women that will vote, they'll have to vote for who they want to be the sheriff between the two candidates, or if there's someone else that comes forward.
Right.
But they all have to be post-certified. There's a process you have to go through that certifies all of your credentials and your sound mind and et cetera, et cetera.
It's a little different than appointing to a position on the school board or the commission.
It is. Several years ago, the Sheriff's Association and through the state legislators said men and women that run and want to be sheriffs in a community need to be certified in a variety of things. And so in order to run as sheriff on a general election or to be appointed as sheriff, you must have that certification. That's now part of the processes. Whereas if a mayor, if I decided to step down, there's basically 2 or 3 requirements. You have to live in the county, which is same as the sheriff. You have to be of age 25, I think, maybe 21, but 25, and you can't have a felony.
Right.
And then you submit your name, and there's not a lot of, and I've often said we need tighter certifications. You know, this job as county mayor should have some backgrounds like public administration,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
When
But we're different here in our county, so the law has to be to all 95 counties. In some counties, you're not as diverse of a community that would require all that financial background, because the ultimate job of the county mayor is the keeper of the money and the keeper of the property. And outside of that, the job comes with a lot of ask and wants and needs.
But
So
the primary job is to.
that's right,
Yeah.
oversee the budget, oversee the financial capabilities of the people. But going back to the sheriff, so there'll be an appointment made in February, and that individual has to serve until the next general election, which is in 2020, and they have to run again.
So that's not too far down the road. We'll just get settled in and.
And then when they get to 2020, it only goes to 2022. You serve out his term.
Right. So it's similar to being in the House every 2 years for the first. But I remember Sheriff Long had to go through the same thing.
He did. And, you know, now that we're giving pats on back, I certainly don't want to overlook Glenn Cassida, Speaker of the House, very high-profile, powerful position.
Yeah.
Taken over from longtime Speaker of the House, Beth Harwell. And that's a job you're appointed by the legislative bodies in the House who they want to be the Speaker. And, of course, it's a supermajority up on the Hill, both the Senate and the Republican. And Jack Johnson is the majority leader over in the Senate. So there's a lot of Williamson County influence going on. And Brandon Ogles took over for Charles Sargent.
Yeah. And he's on the Ways and Means Committee.
He's on House Ways and Means. So there's a huge learning curve for a lot of those people. Glenn's been around a long time. Jack has been around a long time. And, of course, Sam Whitson, that's our other state representative. He's on the Transportation Committee, so there's a lot of influence going on.
Yeah,
out of
Williamson County sat back for a while, but all of a sudden they're in leadership positions. I mean, there's always been somebody in a leadership position, but all of a sudden Williamson County is right up there.
Well, and you would think that would help you out at the local level, being the mayor, city or county. But oftentimes there's a lot of eyes from the other 94 counties watching, being sure that Williams County doesn't get everything.
Yeah.
Now, I would contend that we need more, more roads and more money for schools and stuff like that. But, in all fairness, you have to spread it out. And it is the simple majority, the way our democracy works. And so 51%, or 50.1%, I guess is the accurate way,
Yeah, 50 plus 1.
is how our society operates and motivates, even here in every city council. Now, there are a few votes. You have to have a 2/3 vote, but they're usually to change something in midstream.
But I can see that you look at the success of the county, and now you bring those leaders to the state level, that the success that these people bring, or the background, will only help the state even more to be more successful.
And I'm sure Governor Lee, who's been in office now almost a week, taping this show, he's come out with a couple of directives that will make huge changes. He's not a man that's ever been in politics. Some would say that's good.
Yeah.
Others would say, well, he doesn't have the institutional knowledge. So he's surrounded himself by a cabinet they call commissioners. And some of those men and women that he's surrounded himself with are existing commissioners, new, coming from the private side. There's both a good and bad side of.
Yeah, but he brings with him the mind of a businessman, and running the state is a business, just like running the county is a business.
That's where I came from.
Yeah.
And so he'll learn. He'll make some mistakes. I would like to say I haven't made any. I haven't made any today, only because it's early in the morning. But he will do an outstanding job, and he has my support, and certainly had a huge turnout for his style of leadership. So he is a leader, not developing a leader. So it's his style, and surround himself with good men and women. He'll do just fine. Which leads us to the budget.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we're
talking about your job.
yeah, we sent out the directives to all the elected and appointed and all the other departments, and as we begin 2019, we'll begin that processes in the months of late February and March, and trying to listen to those departments. What do they need? As you know, we're a growing county. But at the same time, you want to hold those taxes low and keep them where they are. And so over the years, we've shifted a lot of our cost burden to the people moving in that aren't from here. New businesses, new people, et cetera, that have to pay a little bit more to come into our county. Well, that doesn't always make people happy, because then your fees are higher and your costs to come into your community, but it does make the existing people here.
It kind of eases the pain for us who keep paying for more and more.
And you see that particularly in schools. This will be the first year in several years we've not opened a new school, 2019.
Right.
Now,
however, that doesn't bode that you won't be opening one in 2020.
No, we will be.
Yeah.
The way that process works, the schools come to the county commission provides the funding, and then that money goes back to schools. And the schools have identified and have purchased land on Gosey Hill Road for a new school. So if you went out Arno Road, you go out 3 or 4 miles, about halfway, not quite halfway, to Page High School, Page Middle. You're going to turn right on to Gosey Hill. Gosey Hill goes around to Long Lane, goes back to the Ag Park. And they purchased nearly 100 acres out there for a new elementary school or a K-8 school. I don't know. They fully decided what it's going to be.
And that's to serve all those new subdivisions that are going
Oh,
on.
absolutely. All. If you haven't, and I told somebody this the other day, if you haven't traveled down Carruthers from Williamson Medical Center is on Carruthers, but you take a right and go south. Be going
Actually,
east.
almost paralleling 65.
Yes, you are. Be east of 65 and see all the new development that's all in the city of Franklin. And so those kids have to go to school somewhere. And so for the most part, they've been going to Oakview and Page. I mean, they're just all over.
And it's quite a haul for them.
Oh, yes.
For right now. And when the bridge was out, it was quite a difficult haul.
Yeah, it was In fact, I had a friend tell me the other day that her children were going to school at Oakview, and when that bridge was out, she lived on Long Lane, and to get to school normally was 5 to 8 minutes, but when that bridge was out for almost a year, it was a trip all the way back into Nashville around, and it went from a 5 to 8 minute drive to about a 30-minute
Yeah.
drive,
And plus the traffic.
and traffic and school bus routes. I mean, it was all disrupted. We learned a lot out of that. You know, like oftentimes the good book says, out of adversity, you figure you get stronger. And,
Yeah.
and what we learned out of that, and I say we, Franklin City as ourselves, we needed something else to get across that interstate. So if you're driving down 65 South right before you get to Paytonsville Road, there's pillars that are already embedded into 65. And someday Long Lane will go back and forth over onto Lewisburg Pike and go through Old Paytonsville Road. And that'll allow traffic. It won't have an entrance or an exit off the interstate, but it'll get that traffic back and forth. And so with Carruthers developing the way they are and that leading into Long Lane, you just need new schools over there.
All that countryside back in there that was kind of hidden for a while, to Goosey Hill, and even just on the east side of Goosey Hill, is now becoming homes.
It is. There are a lot of homes, and so that means children and boys and girls need to go to school, and those children, for the most part, they'll be going to school at Page Middle and Page High School, but they'll do some rezoning, I'm sure the schools with, and try to look at areas. And we need a new school. They tell me in the school up in Spring Hill area, another school for Spring Hill Thompson Station.
Gonna make 3?
At least. I don't
know where there's room to put any more people in that area.
If I get the TV crew in there to look at me, I think we have 48 schools now, pretty close to that, 47, 48 schools. That's including elementary, middle K-8, and high schools. And it was just a few years ago, there was, of course, Brentwood and Franklin and Fairview.
Fairview and Page.
And Page.
Yeah.
And we used to have College Grove. We used to have Bethesda. And all of those schools are been combined or they're gone over the last 50 years. You had Page and Brentwood that came along in the 60s and 80s, and now we have high schools all up and down the Pike.
Yeah, when I first came along, there was Fairview, Franklin, Brentwood had just been open a little while, and Page. And then we built Centennial. That was the next high school that we built. And now
Independence, Summit, Nolensville. Nolensville has its own high school, elementary and middle school. So our community can, I guess the bottom line of this discussion, interesting, and I will put a plea out to the TV channels because people that watch this, if you've got some time on your hands, we could sure use you in the census counts required by federal law.
Oh, that's right, it's coming up.
2020. So Joe Horn's heading that up on a countywide basis. Logical person to put because he's in planning, and he has done it before. I asked him to do it back in 2010. So in 2010 census, we had 183,000 people. We're somewhere around 230,000 people now, 10 years later.
Well, I know you predicted 250 by 2025, I think it was.
And we're going to get there. Unless something happens to the economy, which you always have a little eyebrow raised and trying to see what's happening in the world of stocks and mutual bonds and growth and what comes out of Washington through the feds, through the banking industry, the leadership, the economy. I mean, we're a global country, society, slash society, with a huge influence of Williamson County. What affects us in China and Japan, it also affects us here, as we've got major corporations that are international that work and operate out of here. Healthcare continues to be our steady Rock of Gibraltar. You know, You've got some of the largest healthcare companies in Nashville with a strong presence in Williamson County, HCA, a for-profit. You've got certainly Vanderbilt, St. Thomas, Williamson Medical Center.
Everybody's got a little piece of Williamson County.
There are thousands of jobs that rely on the health care here in the Middle Tennessee, and we're fortunate to have some of those corporations and businesses right here in Williamson County. Unemployment continues to be at an all-time low for us. People are probably tired of us as politicians saying that, but it's true. If you want a job, you can have one. If you don't,
Yeah, there are help wanted signs all over the place.
And the working class, the kind of what you and I raised up under, most of the minimum wage is $10 to $12 an hour now, even in some of the.
Yeah, without government interfering.
Yeah, without government. I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah.
If we'll stay out of it, the private sector will take care of it.
Right. I mean, if they need the help and they can't get it at $10, they'll offer $12.
Yeah. Or they'll close the businesses.
Right.
And there are some businesses retooling how they. It was interesting. I won't mention this restaurant, but there's a restaurant over in the Cool Springs area that has a really good salad, and I love their salad bar. And when we would go over there to eat, used to be, you place your order, you get your bowl, you get your salad, and you sit down. And if you ordered a sandwich or something, or a bowl, a cup of soup or something, they would bring it to you. Well, they've gone to these little electronic beepers. And so when you get your salad, you get this thing that looks like, 3 by 3, about an index card size. And you sit down, and when your bowl of soup or your sandwich is ready, it starts flashing.
Oh, gee.
And more restaurants
Yeah.
do that today. There's several that you go and they say, well, you can go shop, or you got a 30-minute wait. We'll beep you either on your cell phone, or they'll give you this little apparatus that goes off and says, hey, we're ready to seat you. That's how I asked the owner of that. I said, why did you go to this system? I kind of like sitting down and not getting up again unless I want to go back to the salad bar. And he said, you can't find help.
Yeah.
Can't find help.
somebody to run it over to
run
you.
it over to you. So that takes a couple of people, and it's a lot more cost effective for us just to give you or work it off your phone.
Yeah.
And so we see different ideas that are being tooled and schooled and.
Yeah, if you've been to any of the fast food restaurants, one in particular, it's you order now you go to your own little kiosk and order. And
Are they giving us a warning?
yeah, they are.
Yeah, we haven't got to one thing. So let's talk about the budget.
Yeah, okay. What are the guidelines?
The guidelines this year is basically status quo, and status quo means we're not going to a zero-based. We did that a couple of years ago, but we are saying go back and look at your budget, see where you can cut, and then each one of those will come before the budget committee and plead their case. We did allow for a 3% pay raise, provided we've got the funds to do it, so Nina or they will build those 3%. And that's kind of the cost of living in 2018-19. Some people will say, well, that's more than I'm going to get as a raise. But oftentimes, last year we got 2, this year we're asking for 3. And we'll see how our money holds out when we get to that, because it picks up teachers, classified, law enforcement, everybody. It's not just my department. New personnel, it's a case-by-case basis. I don't expect a lot of new personnel this year. The sheriff got quite a few last year. There's always 1 or 2 here and there, but for the most part, I think we're okay on our personnel, maybe less than 10, which, by the time you pay 10, pay all the benefits and all that, it can get into it. And then operational size, as you know, we have purchased land down in West Main Thompson Station, 12 acres. We want to build a new fire station out there for our Burwood and that end of the community to help hold those insurance rates down that you and I pay. If you're outside 5 miles, outside of 1,000 foot, your insurance rates are off the charts.
They really are.
So we've been, for the last 5 years, isolating, trying to find land that we could afford and build these stations. And we've got one to go. That's over in the Triune community somewhere over in there. We need a station that will handle that. We have one over there, but it's 25 years old and really outdated and about to fall down. So.
Would you build on the same site, or would you build on a different site?
A Triune?
Yeah.
No, we need another site.
Just not big enough?
It's just, the footprint's not large enough. It's on Malachi Drive. It's an old station.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it just doesn't meet the standards of what we need. You need a place that you can house at least one, hopefully two fire trucks. The one in Paytonsville that we built, and will hold three, including a ladder truck.
But you also want a place for an ambulance, don't you?
Have an ambulance. Ambulance is important. And we try to turn those also into community centers so that the community, not a big one, but if they wanted to use it, have a homeowners meeting or something like that, then they'd be able to do that. And the sheriff's department has a presence there, so the men and women that are out in the field, they don't always have to come back in to the main station and fill out their paperwork. So we've purchased land in Thompson Station, and 2, 3, maybe 4 years, we'll eventually get around to getting that station built. We're looking for land in the Triune community. Welcome anybody that's interested in getting that, getting before us. We're also going to development and saying, hey, as you build these communities, can we get a piece of your land? Will you donate it? And if it's in that boundary we're looking for, we're very interested. And we've had developers to step up and offer land. Sometimes they're not where you need them, but it helps.
Yeah.
Same like West Haven donated land for a school. Community subdivisions need to do that where it's possible, and at least let that group of school people, county commissioners, city folks say no or yes. So that's what's going on, and we have 1 minute left. What else do you want to cover?
Well, you did mention before we got on all the other different things that you that the Parks and Rec are going to start.
That's correct.
In Bethesda.
And Bethesda, that's been a priority for the last 10 to 15 years, finding an area community center. We have no soccer fields over there, have a few baseball fields. Need to improve on our library, community center, the whole thing.
So they're on the
Gyms.
list.
Just so many needs.
Yeah, yeah. And we will see you next time on County Happenings.